Joshua from Pennsylvania. Sam, earlier in the show, you said it's good strategy to prop up Trump lunatic candidates in some primaries. Did you mean that or a slip of mind? What if they win the midterms? There are no real pure Dem blue seats in midterms in these crazy times. I guess my answer is, can you tell me what the difference is between between those two Republicans, between the one who's like moderately crazy, and by moderately crazy, I mean crazy, or the one who is just completely QAnon crazy? I mean, this is the thing, is that Donald Trump, I think, was sort of like, on some level, unique, at least qualitatively, in his corruptness. Maybe quantitatively. But in terms of the policies that the Republicans pursued, would they have been any different under a different administration? It's possible there was a couple of things, maybe, but ultimately not really. I just don't think there's fundamentally too much of a difference between these different Republican lawmakers. Like, I mean, where's the, you know, you had what, 47 in the House that voted for marriage equality, and they couldn't get like 19 for, or was it 7 or 17 or what, for contraception? I mean, it
was fewer for contraception.
I mean, yeah. Like, and you didn't need them for the majority. You really didn't need them. I just am not convinced of the value of these marginal, the marginal difference between these candidates outweighs the potential that you could get a Democrat in there.
Yep. And it's also clarifying largely, like, for one of the projects of what our show maybe is just really to make it clear that the problem is the Republican Party.
Yes.
And so when you have people who are more obvious and less cloaked in money and politeness, it makes it more obvious.
I mean, I feel like this wouldn't be a story as long as the Democrats were actually like making sure they're challenging every seat and had like a 50-state strategy and things like that. Whereas, and actually like more successful than like, because I do agree that this sort of thing, it's like, I remember Todd Aiken. The whole like that seemed to work out for them. I mean, I don't necessarily trust it, because what if like these
Christine O'Donnell,
right?
Yeah.
But what if now like these more radical Republicans are actually better at outside the primary to turn people out? Like that would concern me. But as far as like doing what wins, like I mean, I think it is gross ultimately, like to splash money around like that. But I mean,
but let's be also really be clear. They're not giving money to the candidate.
Right.
They're saying that the way they do this is my understanding, is they'll say, they'll put out an ad from the Democrats. Matlack is just too conservative for Missouri. He is just way too conservative. This guy believes that, QAnon and Donald Trump are the bee's knees or whatever the hell it is. And the idea is that they're doing two things. They are making Republican voters believe that this guy is the more conservative, which he probably is, but it's, again, a marginal difference. And they're also making the general public think that he's an extremist. The weird thing is, with this type of strategy is, you say this guy's an extremist, and the base of the Republican Party is like, he's our guy. And you say he's an extremist, and the rest of the normal people in the state go, he's not our guy. Now, can this fail? Yes. I mean, it failed in the context of Trump, lightning struck. But there was also a lot of other failures associated with the campaign, not just that it was Donald Trump was the nominee. There was a lot of failures on the Clinton campaign that we've talked about ad nauseum. There was also the Comey letter, which we've talked about ad nauseum. I mean, so I understand the danger here, but I guess my argument is that I do not think the marginal difference between these Republican candidates is so great. I don't know that I would do it maybe for a governorship, because then, like the implications of electing a governor like Mastriano, seems to me, are far more scary than this congressperson from a maybe a purplish, maybe reddish district. Right. So, it's not a blanket proclamation, and you do need to, I think, look at it, on a case by case basis. But I don't think there's something necessarily wrong with that.
Right. The point I was just making is like, I'm not super interested in the ethics of that tactic, but like the structural problem of campaign finance reform, where you have all this money sloshing around, like, is more concerning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it a negative or a positive for Democrats that Lauren Boebert is in Congress versus another Republican who wasn't as much of a lunatic but votes in the exact same way?
I think we know the answer. It's helpful to have her out there saying crazy nonsense.
I think so, and let's help her help herself.
Free publicity, Lauren.
Yes, she's on with Sebastian Gorka, who's now landed on his feet at Newsmax, I guess. I wasn't quite aware of that.
My ultimate plan.
The pajama era, the pajama boys are back, or whatever. He looks like he's aged quite a bit, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He had such a vibrance back when he was in the White House.
A potency, you might say.
Yes, I had a potency. Now I'm
Lauren.
impotent.
Now my suit jacket looks a bit empty.
Askew.
That's also, not to be fashion police here, but odd pocket square choice,
hanky.
gotta say. Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Anyway.
And here is Lauren Boebert on explaining her opposition to the recently passed assault weapons ban in the House. Here we go.
Populist. If the citizenry in America is disarmed, then we are no longer citizens. We are subjects. Here in America, we have gourmet treats for puppies. We have these amazing groomers for dogs. Well, in Venezuela, they eat the dogs. And it started
Pause it for a second.
Someone needs to clip her saying we have these amazing groomers and then recirculate that in Republican.
Wow, what is she talking about, Lauren Boebert?
Pro-trans Lauren Boebert.
Here is, go back to the beginning, because I want to show you a moment which shows just how much this is just a charade with these people, okay? She's setting up this joke about, like, in Venezuela, they eat dogs, okay? I don't know if that's the case. Certainly there are...
Did you confuse it with China, the other commie nation? It's easy to confuse Venezuela.
There are other countries where dogs are eaten. We live in a country where we eat cows. And incidentally, I mean,
goat, deer, bison,
yes,
chicken,
but
turkey.
Nevertheless, watch Gorka's response when she is going in through her premise, where you're not supposed to know where you're going, right? Like, we, spend a lot of money on expensive dog treats. He thinks that is the point that she's trying to make, and so he nods, but he's not really listening. He's just sort of like doing that's what I love about this clip here. It's just like, he's just like, this is how I make money now. Okay, I let the lunatic come on and say crazy stuff. Just watch Gorka.
Populist. If the citizenry in America is disarmed, then we are no longer citizens. We are subjects. Here in America, we have gourmet treats for puppies. We have these amazing groomers for dogs. Well, in Venezuela, they eat the dogs. And it started because they don't have firearms. They do not have a way to protect themselves, to defend themselves against a tyrannical government.
Wait, they eat dogs because they don't have guns?
Yeah, right. Because if you don't protect yourself from a tyrannical government, then you get the government mind virus that tells you that Fluffy and Snowball over there are good for dinner, right?
How are they killing these dogs?
I don't know. Well, I mean, this goes back to apparently a Daily Mail article that says that Venezuelans are eating rats and dogs because of the economy. I would just say that possibly that's a result of sanctions that we're leveling on that country, like, and not to do with
Not
their
nothing to
gun
do with them
control.
not being armed.
And let's be clear, I think that's just, that seems like that's just 4chan circulating right-wing propaganda. I don't even know if that's true.
I mean, it is Daily Mail, but yeah, I mean, same point.
Well, I mean, man.
We should buy their own.
So that's what she's trying to say. It's just because they're communists or socialists.
Yeah,
that's,
I mean,
that's one of the planks. I mean, you've read theory. All they can talk about is eating dogs as a number one plank of communism and socialist theory.
Yeah, and it's really frustrating to see them suggest things like that and ignore the history of America trying to get its way using economic sanctions on countries.